very warm welcome. You're watching Melt. I'm Ritvika Gupta. The hospitality industry has taken a massive hit, with hotels and restaurants seeing a drastic decline in revenue due to COVID 19. While some restaurants have remained open for takeout and delivery, some have been forced to shut their doors for good. Fast food restaurants have been also responding to changing consumer tastes during the lockdown. Burger King, for instance, showed people how to make Whoppers at home with ingredients from a grocery store. It also offered free burgers to students if they could solve various questions while studying at home. To find out more about Burger King's efforts during the pandemic, Anant Rangaswami, editor of Melt, speaks to Fernando Machado, Global Chief Marketing Officer, Restaurants Brands International today. Let's get ready to melt with Fernando Machado.
Hello, Fernando. Good to talk to you.
Yay, my pleasure. Finally, the day has come.
The day has come. So, it's a very difficult time for all marketers across the world. And for you, especially, your category is hard hit across the world. And within every country, you have different rules in different areas. Some restaurants are allowed to be open. Some restaurants have only deliveries and so on and so forth. India, we have the same problem. Different cities have different lockdown rules. So tell me, as a marketer, how do you manage to map all the changes in your various markets as a global marketer?
Yeah, look, I think that we've seen the pandemic hitting in waves, right? I mean, I'm based here in the US. I'm based out of Miami. That's where our headquarters is. And we first saw the pandemic starting to affect our business in Asia, right? I mean, so we had like a lockdown in China, and we have a big business there. Then we saw our own office in Singapore, the office that managed Asia Pacific, closing. Then it moved to Europe, right? And we saw countries go into lockdown like UK, France, Spain, Germany. Our office also closed there. And then it finally arrived in the Americas, right? North America and Latin America. And I still remember things becoming very real here in the US when the NBA season got canceled.
Right.
I think that's when kind of like it hit everyone, like this is like a big deal globally, at least for us here in the US, or at least for me, that's how it felt. And then our office got closed here too. So when it arrived in the US, we already have like a couple of weeks of development in China. So we quickly like galvanized like the marketing team and the leadership team of the company. I think that everyone went in crisis mode, right? Because as you said, I think all hospitality industry suffered an impact. And the impact was different, as you're saying, depending on the country you are in and on the timing. Right. So we've learned a lot from China, for instance, right? Because they were ahead of us in terms of dealing with COVID-19, in terms of understanding what would happen at the restaurant level. In fact, like when we came out of lockdown, China was one of the first countries to come out of lockdown. So we also continue to learn. And we created groups, right? I mean, there was a marketing group, there is a leadership group of the company, to basically like monitor the different stages where countries were in. Because we had countries in the beginning varying from complete lockdown with our restaurants completely closed, so sales going to zero, to countries that were completely open. And in the middle, there were different things. Like in the US, we were never completely closed, right? I mean, we always had delivery, drive-through, in some cases takeout. We had during most part the dine-in area closed. So we were learning from each other. I think that two characteristics that help us here on Restaurant Brands International are first, I think we are very nimble and fast. So we were able to adapt to what was happening like very quickly, and we work very collaboratively together. So each country helping feeding the other markets with knowledge of what was happening there, and then creating assets and creating materials and creating campaigns and creating procedures that would help with safety of the crew, with safety of the guest. So it was really like a joint collaborative effort with everyone like running at the same time and trying to map the different situations that the different markets had over time.
Right. So part of your challenge was, like you said, some countries had completely shut down, some had uh, only drive-through, some had delivery, some had takeout, and so on and so forth. All this needs to be communicated in real time to Burger
Yeah.
King consumers.
Yeah.
So creating communication, how big a challenge has that been for you?
Look, I mean, it's always a challenge, but it's a challenge that we're used to. Like I think that if you have a marketing team in an organization that's able to move fast and to pivot and change direction when it's needed, it becomes a bit easier because that's the way we work. Like I think that if you are in a corporation that moves slowly and you need like layers and layers of approval and decision making takes time, then I think you had a very hard time. Like I can give you a couple of examples. Like in our case, when we decided, hey, we're going to change the plans, this is like a Wednesday of a week. On Monday, we were airing a new TV commercial that didn't exist when we decided to change the plans. So our agency partners were like super helpful too, and we are used to that. So we basically like put on hold all our marketing plans in all countries, I would say, and came up with something completely new. And our approach has been quite consistent. Or like if you take like all markets, the first thing that they did was activities to help support the people in the communities around us, right? So we really like leverage our three brands, Burger King, Popeyes, and Tim Hortons, as a force of good. Like we donated food, like in every single market. We provided support to healthcare professionals, first responders, volunteers. That was the first thing we did. And to be honest, it didn't even require a brief. Like everyone just knew that was the right thing to do. And I think that if you didn't do that as your first step, it's hard, because like I think that that's the basic thing that you should do as a brand, which will give you, and if you do it right, it will give you the opportunity to do more. Yeah, so that was the first thing we did. Then the second thing we did, second and third, we layer on top of that communication that was actually, one would say, a bit basic. There was a lot of uncertainty from people. People didn't know if we were open or not. They didn't know how to buy. I mean, is the restaurant open, not? People were just scared of the whole situation. So we did some communication to show people the new procedures we were adopting in the restaurant to guarantee safety, right, of the crew and of the guest. So we spoke about the ingredients we are using to clean things. We spoke about the fact that people should come to the drive-through because the dine-in was closed. We spoke about the fact that we accept mobile order and payment, which is a contactless way to pay. We spoke about the fact that we were giving you the food without contact, that we were putting acrylic screens on the drive-through and in dine-in, that our crew was wearing masks and gloves. So it's like we are very didactic, but necessary, because there was a lot of uncertainty out there. And so it was a mix of safety as point number two, and point number three, explaining to people how to order Burger King, Popeyes, and Tim Hortons. So that was basically like every single market that I can think of has done a version of that. And in many cases, countries exchanged assets. The US did a really good material with David, which is our agency here, and it got used also by other markets. And that's only possible because of what I said, the way our teams collaborate, which is very strong.
Right. So, tell me, during the pandemic, you've created, astonishingly, 15, 20 pieces of communication. Tell me the biggest communication challenge and explain to my viewers step by step the process that led to the creation. For example, that film you spoke about, it started on a Wednesday and it ran on a Monday. Tell me what the process was. Where did it start? Who got involved and how did it finish?
Yeah, so like it was like a joint decision at like the senior leadership of the organization. So we started to have every day we started to have a meeting in the morning and a meeting at the end of the day, because things were moving so fast. So we said, at least we have this meeting with all the regional presidents from the company, and the CEO is there, and the CFO is there, I am there, the legal person is there, and we discussed the situation, how the situation is evolving, and it was literally like in the morning and in the afternoon, and then like right in the beginning we said, hey, yes, we did have a plan that had a certain promotion, that had a certain new product that we're launching, but like all that plan was built without the context of the pandemic. So with the pandemic coming, all our research, because we have ongoing research, is showing that people are confused, that people are scared. So we may, it might be helpful to change the approach of communication, because it doesn't make sense for us to communicate that there is a new product when people are don't even know if the restaurant is open. You know what I'm saying? So, so it was, and it was very quick. Like, yes, makes sense. Let's change. Then this is like, let's say it's a Wednesday morning. We call this. I'm giving an example of one country, okay? But it's similar everywhere.
No, it's the principle. Principle will work.
Yeah, we call our agency partner in the U.S. one of the main one, which is David here in Miami, and we tell them, hey, we need help. Like we explain the situation. And we say we need something very simple to explain the procedures, and these are the procedures in the restaurant, and to explain that people should be ordering on the drive-through, delivery, or takeout, and we need it done fast. So the agency, in a couple of hours, already presents script, storyboard, like everything, like really like a couple of hours, not days, and a proposal of a local crew to film this. Some initial thinking on how to film in a safe way, because that was one of the key challenges, like how to produce materials while being safe to the crew that's filming and everyone involved, right? We need to worry about that too. And that became a big challenge for advertising in general. And that's why you see so many ads with stock footage and footage shot from before, because it became very difficult to film. Today, we already figured out ways to make it safe and to film, but it took some time to get there. Remember the level of uncertainty. We didn't even know how the thing really spread, and in the beginning. And so we developed this over the weekend, and on Monday we shipped, and we do some research in parallel to shipping to air. So again, it's not rocket science, but I think that there is a ton of merit on being able to do it so fast. Right. When I explain, if you're not so familiar with advertising and with the industry, you may feel like, well, but you had 1 week to do it, so it sounds like a long time. But the reality is that some of these things usually take much longer than that, right? So being able to pull it off in a couple of days, I think it's a really like proof of like how nimble and how fast the team here, including our partner agencies, can move.
Now, you spoke about ongoing research. So describe that to me. How did that data come to you, and how is it? What is the actionable extent of the data that you get?
Yeah, usually in our key countries, we have lots of metrics, right? I mean, we do different types of research. And when we saw COVID starting to hit, we started to buy data with more frequency around like sentiment of people, like around like willingness to go out and eat, around it's like how do I say, it's like ongoing research with a large sample size in the US, the one I'm referring to. It's very similar in all other key markets. And we have a questionnaire to measure like perception of people, how safe it is to eat on fast food, perception of people on how optimistic is their outtake in terms of what's happening, understand like which channel people are gravitating to in terms of purchase, what type of products, because that's the other thing. Like we are talking fast food here, but the reality is that different subcategories of fast food have been affected differently.
Right.
You know, like all the coffee players suffered much more
Right.
because coffee is a morning routine, right? I mean, I don't know you, but like I usually have my coffee in the morning when I'm going to work. Well, no one was going to work. So people are not stopping anymore in their way to work to get that coffee. So that category was affected big time. Pizza had a positive effect because family orders grew, right? I mean, since the family was like everyone was at home, parents working from home, kids were at home, so family orders grew, and pizza is a crowd pleaser, right? I mean, like if you have a bunch of friends watching a movie at your house and say like, hey, let's order something to have dinner. I'm not sure if that's the case in India, but like in the US or Brazil, it's like, yeah, just order some pizza. You know what I mean? Like you order 2 pizzas and you are covered, right? Sandwiches to order for a large order is more complicated because someone will be like, oh, mine without onion, mine without pico. It becomes a whole debate, right? Pizza is like pepperoni, mozzarella, you're covered, right? So it really affected the different categories differently. It affected the different countries differently because the time horizon that the curve of COVID was different in each market. It started and ended or get flattened at a different time. So I think that, look, in a nutshell, I think that one of the key characteristics of brands and companies who were able to navigate the pandemic a little bit better, and I say a little bit better because there is no perfect answer, and everyone got affected one way or another. But like being nimble and fast and being able to change direction quickly and make decisions like fast is a characteristic that became even more important during this period.
So tell me, of all the changes that your research is showing you, what is the biggest change at the consumer end, which you think is going to be a long-term change? There are a lot of short-term changes which are tough to predict. What are the long-term changes?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think I've been reflecting a lot about this, and I think that what happened with the pandemic was like an acceleration of some trends and changes that were already happening.
Right.
You know, in my category, for instance, on fast food, QSR, quick service restaurants, we were seeing a growth in digital already, digital sales, whether that's delivery, mobile ordering, loyalty, digital couponing, and the acceleration of that during the pandemic was massive. And that's not just Burger King or fast food. If you look at the business results of most companies out there, they're all disclosing how well their e-commerce did, right? Amazon hit like all-time high. You know, like Apple is booming, and it's also like selling online because in the US, I think all the Apple stores are closed. So it was a massive acceleration of e-commerce, delivery, and sure, like it may retreat a little bit after the situation normalizes further, but I don't think it will go back to the levels that were before. I think that some of these changes are here to stay because they were already happening, and they just got accelerated by the situation out there. So I expect delivery to be much more important moving forward. I expect apps for brands, apps not like apps that deliver that do something for you, and that even support transaction will become even more common. So and I expect like off premise, which is how we call things that don't happen at the restaurant, to continue to grow. because people got used to that. Like I hardly ever order groceries online. It's not that difficult to go to a supermarket in my case. There's a supermarket nearby. But because of COVID and everyone was scared, I was ordering groceries online, and it's very convenient,
Right.
but like the situation forced me to do that. And maybe now, if I'm tired, or if I prefer to spend the time playing with my kids, instead of going to the supermarket, I can do that. And so it was an eye opener for some services that I didn't use, and I think that would be similar to most people out there.
Right. And one of the things about you is you travel a lot and you spend a lot of time away from your house. So has the pandemic
Yeah.
good for you? In the sense you
Look, I
can't
mean,
travel, you can't go anywhere.
I think that there is always I'm a very optimistic person, and I always try to look at the positive side of things. I think that the pandemic was like a bad thing overall, because of what's happened to people out there, because of how it affected employment rates, and it's a really complicated situation. I think in my case, my personal case, the silver lining is that I could spend more time at home. I think that the silver lining in general is that I think we will all come out of this realizing that it is possible to have more flexibility at work. It is possible to do more working from home, and hopefully with a little bit more empathy with regards to people's lives. You know what I mean? Because in the past, if someone was calling from home or video conference from home, and there was a noise of a baby crying on the back, or if the dog barked, usually people got super embarrassed, right? It felt a bit, at least I felt that it was not so professional when that happened to me, right? But reality today is like it happens all the time and no one cares, because we all got used to it. And I think that we have a higher level of empathy for people. Like everyone has a personal life, and I think that the pandemic and forcing everyone to working from home, it was a good reminder for people that there is more than just work, and that we need to be mindful of that and respectful of that. And in my case, I was able to spend a lot of time with my two little guys. I have a 7-month-old Oliver, and if I were at work, I would probably arrive home 6-7 p.m. and he would be sleeping. So I would probably play with him during his night feed or over the weekend. And today, every break that I have, I can go and play a little bit with him. So that's the silver lining on all this.
Thank you so much, Fernando. It was a lovely conversation with you, and hope to see you soon at ZMelt.
My pleasure. It's always great to join you guys. My third or fourth Z-Melt by now. First time virtually. We are going to make it extra special, and hopefully next year we can see each other in person again.
And that was Fernando Machado sharing how the pandemic has impacted Burger King's global business and communication strategies. You can also hear his insights at ZMelt 2020 next week on the 3rd and 4th of September. For more details, log on to zmelt.com. Let's now have a look at the Melt cheat sheet. As consumers' priorities change, marketers also need to be fast and nimble in their decision making. Communication during the crisis needs to be kept simple and address uncertainties. Market research during the pandemic is necessary in order to address new modifications in consumer behavior and expectations. In the fast food category, there has been a massive growth in the number of apps used, online ordering and delivery, and digital couponing. With that, it's a wrap on this episode of Melt. Do follow us on social media. Our handle is Ready to Melt. You can also stay informed on what's happening in the world of advertising and marketing with our daily Melt update on our website, readytomelt.com. And I'll see you next week, same time, same place. Goodbye.